Times X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Hour. We're going to be doing things a tad differently today. We're going to start with Belmont first, and then we're going to do some Kentucky Derby stuff. The reason I want to do that is because I actually got a chance to listen to Blinkers Off last time for the first time before this show, because there weren't a lot of stakes races, and the Blinkers Off crew kind of eliminated that. I usually kind of tune in for like 10 seconds just to see what they're talking about in their rundown. And I quickly saw Ryan Stillman, who is, I'm not going to say honorary dude, but whenever like there's a big event, I know he wants to come on and show his passion. And I texted him last night in the middle of it, like, your passion is unmatched more than anyone else's, and it's great. And then Mike Somich and I ended up staying on. So we're going to get to that after, but we're going to do Belmont. But Aaron, I want to throw to you first. What were your thoughts of Blinkers Off last night? Some of the discussion points you got into, what we're thinking here for Belmont today, again, because we're going to start that early. We're going to make that the first half of the show here today.
Yeah, great night last night. Always good when Ryan comes on. He texted me like 5 minutes before, and he said, hey, I want to come on. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah. And he was ready. He brought it. He had a lot of strong opinions. He really has analyzed this Derby top to bottom. Ryan's more of a fan, how I would label him, but when it comes to the Derby, he deep dives about as much as any of us. So that was some good stuff last night. Listen, though, I mean, we don't do best thing you saw today on the show, but I am just really excited for what happened yesterday. I mean, yesterday was a great day, right? Belmont Park was back. I love watching the coverage on FS1, FS2, whichever one they put it on that day. They've got a great team there. Of course, Acacia, you got her. You've got Maggie Wolfendale. And then even, Andy Serling, he's growing on me a little bit too. But so it's great, And then, Keeneland was going on, and you've got the coverage there with Scott Hazelton and obviously Gabby Gaudette. They've done a good job, all meet there. So it's been a lot of fun. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed, like, Twitter was on fire yesterday. It seemed like people were either hitting stuff and excited about the Derby or bitching about Conquest Big E running at Fawner Park and how we're going to get him not to run today. It was crazy, but the best tweet ever, Dr. Miranda. Dr. Miranda's tweet, she's got her Oaks and Derby hat and outfit picked out, Ricky. So I was really excited to see that.
I haven't, it's funny you talk about it. I wanted to get to the Derby or the Oaks or whatever. They call it this Thurby thing. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't care what. If it's not part of the 2 days, like, I don't know what it is. It's funny. It's like you can go to Belmont. It's like, oh, it's Thirsty Thursday. No, it's called a fucking Thursday. But Thurby, I guess, is the thing. She has her Thurby outfit picked out. I'm going to have to see if she's watching this. The fact that we were even got a chance to talk about it next week. Jared, yes, we will be covering Churchill next Saturday. I don't know when we're going to do it. We haven't figured out the schedule. We'll definitely be doing something live, I'm sure, but we will be covering that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'll have to ask her to see what her outfit looks like. Apparently for females, that is a big thing, bigger than the actual horse racing. But it's ironic because Dr. Miranda, I would say, is in the top 2% of information known by one of the groups here, and I think she'll be able to provide some Racing Dudes coverage from a female perspective once she gets down there. Hopefully you guys, you and Jared, I should say, can meet up with Dr. Miranda, and maybe she could be included in some of the live streams as well. It's going to be tough. I know you guys will be calling it. You guys will try to be on live with us. Without further ado, again, we don't know what the coverage will be for next week. We're still figuring that out at the headquarters. Again, the headquarters are somewhere between Jared and Aaron's house. We don't know where it is. They're still looking for a location. It's probably some warehouse. Let's get into it. We're going to start with, again, Belmont pick 4. We're going to start with that. So I'll scroll this at the bottom. Aaron, I'll start with you first. I have a theme that how I was able to pick my horses, and I put a consensus pick 4 in there, but I'll let you start because I always do. Race 6 starting at 334 or thereabout. Allowance optional claiming fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, going 1 1/4 miles on the turf. We'll start with you. We got a field of 7, about a very, very good and solid field.
Yeah, I thought yesterday, like I kind of said, it was kind of we made some money, but it was kind of just a boring, you couldn't really come up with a lot, in some of the first 3 races we talked about. But today, I feel like we can get creative here a little bit later on with the last couple of races. But I went with the favorite here to kick it off, $10 to win on number 3, Capital Structure. This is a horse that went off at 7-2 in the American Oaks, a Grade 1 race at Santa Anita last time out. Obviously didn't go well, got 5th, beaten 3 lengths. Her stablemate Duopoly kind of went off and got an easy lead, and that was it in that race. But wheels back now on an allowance. I mean, it makes a ton of sense here. Capital Structure is going to be pretty tough to beat. So I put her on top to start this thing off, kept it simple with this race with a $10 win wager on her.
So my name is the 4 Horse Women. And some might say, well, that's a little weird. Why are we doing that? Because today's a Friday, and next weekend is the Kentucky Oaks. We're not going to be on live, I don't think, next Friday, unless I can get a guest. But I assume we're not. I might have to come on here myself. We'll see. I said, you know what? Let's mix things up. I'm going to call 4 of my female friends, and I'm going to have them help pick me out some horses. Now, mind you, these are logical picks. I walked through each race with each of these 4 ladies. The first one was Claudia. I gave Claudia a call and said, hey, Claudia, I know you don't know much about horse racing, but help me out here. I do this live stream. Good friend of mine comes on, and she says, oh, I've actually watched on her before. That's pretty interesting. And I said, do you know how it works? And she goes, no. So basically, I walked her through it, and we came up with these 4 horses. I said, this is a race we should probably spread. Now, granted, I let her help me pick the horses, and I did that with this team. But I'm going to go, I put the horses in order. So she said, Capital Structure, that's pretty interesting. Seems like a horse that we should use. And then I said, yeah, that's a good call, right? Coming out of the American Oaks. I explained that that's a nice turf race. And she should be on top. I explained to her that Chad Brown was a very good trainer. So she said, hey, Rick, if you're saying this Chad Brown guy is pretty good, what about the other horse that he has? Virginia Joy. I said, hey, you're learning pretty quick, right? I said, Claudia, you're doing a hell of a job so far. She said, yeah, we'll use Virginia Joy. And she said, it's pretty interesting. Are these Ortiz brothers related? I said, yeah, they are. They're actually brothers. So we went with the 2 and 3 on top. And then I said, Claudia, take a look at another few horses. And, the object of this game is to win. And so I said, Claudia, what do you think of a horse that wins a lot? And she says, well, I like these 2 horses, this horse War Canoe, because I love going canoeing. And I said, that makes sense. And the horse is actually pretty good. She's an 8-year-old coming out of a lot of stakes races. And I said, you see this horse, My Heart Belongs to Daddy, won't be running in this race. So, she provides some value, and she won her last race. And she said, yeah, that makes sense. And then she said, Kissing Frogs, Ricky, don't you just love in the movies when 2 frogs kiss each other? I said, no, but I said, this horse is pretty good, so we should include her as well. So Claudia and I came up with the 2, 3, the 5, and the 7. Aaron, what did you think of those horses? Obviously, you use Capital Structure, but, the Chad Brown, Claudia pointed that out. Like, we have 2 brothers that are really, really good. And then we have War Canoe and a little long shot who's always consistent, likes the turf. 4 seconds, 3 thirds, 7 in the money finishes with War Canoe. And Kissing Frogs comes out of a race at Gulfstream with your favorite jockey, Junior Alvarado, who ran well. So what did you think of those 4 horses, or 3 more that on top of yours?
I did like everybody that you mentioned there. I'm with the Feldy man here. I kind of think the 4 is one that might upset you. I'm a little worried about this horse because this seems to be the pace of the race. 2 races in a row, this horse has went gate to wire. We're stretching out a distance, and we like horses on the lead on these longer races. So I'm with you on who you've used here, but I do think the 4 is scary. And I do kind of agree with your way of kind of let's spread out here, because if 3 doesn't win the race, it definitely becomes a very wide open affair. So I do like the 4 from a pace standpoint. I agree with that comment. I'm glad you added War Canoe, because it's kind of just a horse that can pull off an upset here if it goes the other way and the pace gets kind of fast. All of a sudden, I think this horse is the best closer in the race. Going to need some help, but yeah, I kind of like that use of War Canoe. I think you're getting the value at 12-1.
Yeah. My problem with Kilkea, I think this is too big of a step up. Now, you can make the case that War Canoe is also taking a step up, but she has races where she's been good at stakes level, right? So it might be a step up from that point of view. I don't see Kilkea being able to hold off these runners. I really, really don't. Now, she will be on the front end, and I do trust Kendrick Carmouche, but it's interesting that Junior Alvarado goes to Belmont. Now, we've talked about this all the time. It might not be a choice for these riders, right? When you look at trainers, if you're Junior Alvarado, who do you want to make happy, Mark Hennig or Belmont? I don't think that question is really a true question. So I get that if that's the point that you want to make. I just prefer the better price with War Canoe. So I do like the 3. War Canoe was my last horse that I used. So that's where I went. I don't think Kilkea is good enough to win. Can she? Sure, she can. She also has 2 second in the money finishes. I would have liked to use her as well. Are there any other horses that we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Cristal. We didn't talk about Flashing Red at all.
Yeah, Cristal is a horse we've talked about on the show a lot, and we kind of agreed, earlier in the year. Yeah, this is kind of done with her, but the distance is right for her. So at 10-1, I wouldn't mind using it. It's almost to me, it's almost a single to 3 or go all type of race. So I mean, you could make a case for her. I guess maybe not all. I don't know about Flashing Red. I don't think that horse has much of a shot, but the other ones definitely do. Quick question. I thought he wouldn't be, but he's not listed in like the jockey changes yet, Vinny. So I guess he's riding until we hear otherwise.
Yeah, I'm not. That's why I'm going, guys. Well, I'm not addressing Vinny specifically, but just in general, unless we have a change, we're just going to go by what we see. If someone can update us with someone who's taking his mounts for the day, then we will adjust that. But for now, right, Aaron said he hasn't seen a jockey change. I haven't.
Here it is. Yeah, they just, as I refresh that, he is going to be off his mounts.
Which makes, so who do we know who's taking a spot?
Trevor McCarthy will be riding Kissing Frogs.
Okay, so we'll make that Trevor McCarthy. I still think he's good enough. It should be, again, 7-horse field. You just got to get him out into open space. There's plenty of room, plenty of time to get this horse into a proper spot. They pretty much have a good amount of the stretch there to sort themselves out into the first turn. So that doesn't mean much to me. Yeah, I don't have anything to add on Cristal or Flashing Red either. Let's move on to the next race. This is claiming 30,000 for 3-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the turf. No scratches again, except the MTOs. The Amistad, Paint Music for me, Bellamy Dolce, and Irish Giant. So we'll stick with 1 through 12, 13 through 16 are out. So Aaron, again, I let Claudia take a shot at it. Claudia did a pretty good job. Called my good friend Acacia. I said, hey, what do you think of helping me out with the Rocket Hour? And she goes, I don't know. What the heck is the Rocket Hour? Again, I had to go through it. I had to explain what it was. I had this theme a lot, right? So I said, because Claudia, I said, Claudia. I said, Claudia also helped me out. Basically, I said, we got to go a little bit shorter. She said, well, how many horses did she get a chance to use? I said 4. And she said, why don't I get 4? I said, well, because I can't recommend a ticket that's going to be so big. And she said, oh, that's cool that you're recommending stuff. She said, why don't you help recommend something for me one time? I said, yeah, maybe Kentucky Derby Day. So I said, how about we go with 3 horses? She said, okay. What about this horse, Croymore? I said, I don't know, Croymore. I said, you don't know much about horse racing, but this horse hasn't done much. And she said, yeah, but this horse won, it looks like, by over 3.5 lengths. And I said, but she's got a lot of these tracks. I know SA is Santa Anita. I know that much. My dad's a big horse racing fan. And she goes, and then GG must be somewhere out in California. And I said, you're right, that those are California tracks. So she goes, well, if they're coming to New York, that must make sense, right? You don't just move the horse like that if the horse doesn't think they're going to win, if they don't think they're going to win. And I said, yeah, that's a good point. Let's include that one. I like it. And I said, yeah, the good rider as well. Then she says, what about that quality? She said, I have some quality, right? And I said, we're not picking a horse just on the name That Quality. And she said, please, this horse seems like, he does pretty well with some speed. A lot of 1s in the first column, a lot of 1s in the second column. And I said, okay, you're probably right. And I said, on the grass, which is this race is turf, speed does pretty well. So we could include that one. And then she said, we got to use this horse, A Vow of Beauty. I said, why? I said, I'm not using a Vow of Beauty. She goes, yeah, but by the same theory, this 4 horse just won at an MCL level. I don't know what MCL is, but that seems like it's halfway decent. This horse won. And again, I like the Ortiz thing. Well, let's stick with the Ortiz theme. I said, Acacia, I don't want to stick with the same theme. She goes, why not? Do it for me. Do it for me. I said, fine. We'll stick with the Ortiz thing. So we went 4, 5, 6. She was able to help me out there. So that's where we are, Aaron. We're at the 4, Croymore, the 5, All That Quality, and the 6, A Vow of Beauty. So that's what we came up with. But I chose to put That Quality on top. So we are 4, 5, 6 here in the second leg.
Yeah, and I'll agree with the consensus picks here. I like the 4, 5, and 6 as well. I like the 5 on top as well, Ricky. So we're kind of going to be the same here. This is an odd horse, though, right? The number 5, That Quality, who I'm putting the $10 win wager on here in race 7. What is the deal with this horse? Starts out on the turf, wins on debut. They bring him to an allowance, not very good. Goes to another allowance, gets beat by a horse named North Dakota, who's in stakes races now, and a pretty solid horse. Then we're on the turf, or then we try to enter the turf, but it scratches off, so we go to the dirt, and then we go to the synthetic. But the main thing is it's like 100 days plus between every start this horse has. So he obviously has some issues, right? That being said, we're back to the turf. We're back to what this horse wants to do. We're at a really low level compared to where this horse has been. I just think if this horse shows up with a normal turf race, it's kind of lights out for everybody else. And I think you articulated it best. This horse has a lot of early speed, and I can't see a situation where he doesn't get the lead. So, as long as he breaks well, gets out of the gate, I think he takes him gate to wire here. This is another race. If the 5 doesn't do what he's supposed to do, it gets wild. There's a lot of options here. So that's why I didn't play a trifecta, even though I think the race kind of sets up for it well as far as, hey, there's a lot of horses. It's kind of wide open. I think the probability of hitting the try in this race is tough. I definitely think one of these weird horses are going to go up and hit the board. And I think the probability of That Quality winning, even though the payout might be a little less, it's just a more of a logical bet to make versus a trifecta.
No, and that's fair, right? We talk about sequencing and we talk about ticket structure all the time. By the way, the 9 will not be Junior Alvarado. The 9 will now be ridden by Benji Hernandez Jr. So Junior Alvarado, again, off his mounts, that'll be Benjamin Hernandez Jr. And then another change as well, I think, in the 9th race. So Benji Hernandez takes this mount. I don't think we took the 9 all that seriously in this race, to be honest. We have this 12 horse that I didn't really know what to do with, right? Ultimate Irony. Now, I'll throw some irony out there. This horse should have never been in that race last time out. In my book, if you, I don't know more than Michael Stidham. I won't claim to, but this horse has much more turf success, I think, based on his stats and his information. One would agree. So they keep him on a good sealed track. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So now this horse comes in for a claiming tag, gets back to the turf, and at 5-2. But Aaron, doesn't it kind of seem like this is a little low for this horse? I mean, the last time we saw this one on the turf run well, it was on debut. I mean, the 2 starts back at the fairgrounds, starter optional claiming 30,000, ended up finishing second. But I don't know, that this post isn't great. Again, this Widener, guys, if you don't know the Widener, I talk about this all the time. It's like a weird shoot. They don't go straight. So this 12 could really be left behind and be dead last. So, Aaron, what did you think of this 12 at 5-2? It seems a little low to me.
Yeah, we haven't really seen a strong race from a time form standpoint from the 12 ever, even when he was running a little bit better. Races kind of earlier on in the 2-year-old form. I think it's a good horse to play against as a favorite, and I'm skeptical the horse will actually even go off the favorite. I think this is a tough morning line to make because all of them are kind of strange, have some weird quirks to them, and some things go, oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, I didn't care for the 12 much here. I really didn't. And I'm with you. I don't really know why they kept that horse on the dirt last time out, unless they just thought, hey, maybe the field's scratched down. It's a little bit easier spot. Maybe he'll run well, but he just hasn't really picked up his feet in the last couple of efforts.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I want to, the scratching out part is always interesting, right? Because if you get scratched down to like a field of 4 or 5, you only need to be a few horses to make some money. So at that point, it's not that big of a deal. But they still ended up running 9 horses, or maybe 10, because there was a coupled entry. I'm looking at it now, and only 2 were taken off the turf, which leads me to believe that this race didn't get all that much easier. So I'm not sure what they were doing there. I'll be brutally honest. Let's talk about a few other horses here. Nick chimes in with the 11. So he says the 11 is interesting. Had the lead in the only turf. You know what? I don't like this horse, but I could see it. Like, I don't hate this horse. We'll talk about Aaron. Aaron had the 7 horse yesterday, who we had this little side bet with. I hated that horse. I don't hate this horse. I strongly dislike this horse. So I think it's a little bit interesting with the 11 there. What did you think of this John Kimmel trainee?
It's just, I almost included, because it's just like it's a weird horse. And like the one time on the turf, I thought that horse ran pretty darn well. And then it's like, we're back to the dirt and we're getting beat by 20 and 11. And finally did break the maiden 2 back in a $25,000 maiden claimer for New York breds. But it's just odd that they haven't went back to the turf before today. So now we're back. I think as a long shot, it makes sense. You wouldn't want to play this horse at a short price. You get 12-1. I wouldn't talk you off of that horse.
Yeah, and the other one, we'll talk about this one. If there, guys, chime in with your comments if you want us to talk about a horse. I thought the 1 Zivanelli was interesting. A maiden claiming at 25,000. Now, he did go off as the favorite. So, but you win by a race by 8 3/4. Aaron, to me, this seems more like a horse that beat a really bad field, because he was 0 for 7 coming into this race. When you finally break through and you do it like that, that means, in my book, the field wasn't that good. Is there, granted, and that was also on the main track. Is that kind of the same indication you got, or is this horse maybe a little bit intriguing now that he has a win under his belt?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, and did it on a different surface as well. So you throw that in there. I'm with you. And you've watched enough races, and probably people watching this have watched enough races at Aqueduct to know that happens sometimes. Sometimes you get a race and it's shitty, and 4 or 5 of them just don't really want to be there, and one of them does, and they just kind of run off the screen. I mean, he's not impossible, but it's like, I'm going to need to see it again, and I'm going to need to see it. Because, while this field is kind of a mishmash, strange bunch, they are horses that I think generally they're going to want to try to run well. We're at Aqueduct, you just never know.
Yeah, Aqueduct is definitely more, Aqueduct is more about horses that, in my book, they're not good enough to ship. Like the Belmont horses are good enough to ship to other places, usually Gulfstream or Kentucky. The Aqueduct horses aren't, and you get a lot more inconsistent results. I'm with Aaron there. We have to move on to the back half of the sequence. So we have a stakes race. Our first stakes race we'll be covering at Belmont Park, and it's the Affirmed Success Stakes for 4-year-olds and upward, New York bred 4-year-olds and upwards, I should say, going 6 furlongs on the main track. Aaron, your turn here. We have 6 horses in this field. Where are you going here? We do have the morning line favorite of the 4, Captain Bombastic, Chad Brown, Javier Castellano.
Yeah, I used the 4 in the pick 4, but I did go against the 4 as far as this bet here. And I don't like this race from a betting standpoint. If the 4 wins, nobody's going to be surprised. If the 5 wins, nobody's going to be surprised. But I don't know. I thought the 6 was a little bit intriguing. This is a really, really consistent horse. I'm just kind of hoping the 6 goes out, gets the jump a little bit on the 4 and 5. I realize that the 5, Big Engine has beaten the 6 running with scissors the last couple of times, but different track, maybe the Belmont surface will make a little bit of a difference. But the way I structured it, I just did a $2 exacta box with the 5 and the 6. And I thought, hey, even if the 5 wins, let's get the 6 up there for second. Let's get the 4 out of the top 2. And the payout's going to be okay. And it's not a race where I'm going all in or I'm super excited to bet it. But in a 6-horse field, I just kind of thought this one made a little sense. I didn't want to play the 6 as a win wager because, obviously I'm worried about the 5 Big Engine beating this horse again. But even if he does, I think the 6 can hang around. So I went with the 5-6 exacta box. Those were my top 2 choices. And let's try to create a little value around that 6 horse.
I kind of think this 5 is very, very vulnerable in my book. Off Lasix for the first time in a long time. So you could say the same thing about a few of the rest of this field as well. But it seems like this horse, when you have a field of 6 and they're all pretty tightly bunched, when you can make a case for all of them, and I'll attempt to, I think everyone legitimately has a chance to win this race. I truly believe that. Big Engine gets Jose Ortiz, had Jose Ortiz last time out. But I'm not sure where he's going to be placed. I think he's going to be probably last, or maybe the 4 will be last. It's going to be between the 4 and 5 for last, and I think this thing might go a little bit slower than we're anticipating. So that's why I kind of wanted to take a shot with a bunch of others. I used the 2. What do you think now? This horse was dreadful 2 starts back, but managed to pick it up last time out. Going to be cutting back in distance. That's what I thought was interesting. This horse won his only race going 6 furlongs a long time ago, back in November over a muddy track, but he broke his maiden with Joel Rosario, was the favorite, supposed to do it. I'm surprised this horse never sprinted, except for one 7 furlong race. I'm surprised they never sprinted this horse. I think that's a cutback in distance that we need to keep an eye on. How about the 3, Winner's Laugh? I mean, do we know what he is? We have no clue. We have no idea if this is the best horse in the field or not, because he has one race and he did it gate to wire. I don't know what that field was, but it says hit the gate at the start. If you could watch the head on, it's very true. And then once he gets some running room, he's gone. So I don't know. Is he the most talented? Like, is he going to move on to a better stakes race after this? No idea. We talked about the 5. And to your point with the 6, I'll take the 6 at 8-1 over the 4, Captain Bombastic at 9-5. And here's why. They both lost to Big Engine by about 3.5 or 3.25. Why would I not take 8-1, who's run recently? That's my logic. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if that's true. I know you used the 4, Captain Bombastic, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, is one horse almost 4 times as likely to win the race? I don't think so. And if I get 8-1 on running with scissors, I think I'll get some value there. So that's where I went. What did you think of some of the other horses? Oh, shout out to my other co-host, and I'll wrap it up. Called my good friend Maggie on this one. Again, the 4 horse women. I'll give them a massive shout out at the end, but I called Maggie for this one. Maggie didn't know what the heck was going on. I'll be brutally honest when I called her. So I kind of had to take this one, but I'm dedicating this race to Maggie here. Aaron, what did you think of some of the other horses that I used? I know you like Captain Bombastic, but what about the 3 a little bit, or the 2?
The 2 is one. Yeah, I definitely like the 2, and I kind of agree with your points here. And with the 4, let's address the 4 just real quick. I feel like this is a horse that's going to get overbet. Off of a layoff, that's not always a bad sign for Chad Brown, but to me, he's going to have to get this horse to improve. I think the 5, the 6, the 2 are a little bit faster than the 4. So, if this horse didn't switch barns to Chad Brown, I probably wouldn't even consider it, So to me, you're banking on improvement, and it absolutely could happen. It's Chad Brown, but for me, I will take the shot with the 2, the 5, and the 6 over the 4 here. I just think this one's going to get overbet because of the connections.
Yeah, exactly. And I already have, you said the 2, 5, or 6. I'm completely with you. The 3 is definitely a long shot in terms of not the actual price, but like you would still need a significant step up. But I think Jared might have talked about it last night, and he was talking about Mike Somich's angle. Like, when you don't know, you have to include. It's one thing if you don't know at a short price. To not know at 6-1 with a great trainer, I'll take it. So that's where I'm going to go. If the 4 wins, then it is what it is. Jared brings turf horses ready. The 9 horse, I don't know. I guess, Jared, you might be a race behind us. I think that's – yes, he's talking about the 9. He's a little behind. Let's move on. We covered this one. Let's move on to the final race of the day. Then we'll do some Kentucky Derby stuff. Final race here, race 9, maiden claiming for $40,000 for 3-year-olds and upward, going 1 1/16 miles on the turf. Let's scratch out the 11, Grecian Pharaoh, and the 12, Maddie's Marauder. Again, you just love these maiden claiming races at the end of the day. I think they're fantastic. I hope NYRA keeps doing it. It's a lot of fun handicapping these races. That was sarcastic, by the way. Let's move on. For me, I kind of went short. Again, I called one last woman, one last female, and then I'll give them a big shout out. I called Christina. And I said, Christina. She goes, oh, God. Again, with this horse racing stuff, I bothered Christina the most with this. So she said, what do you want from me? She said, I don't know any of this, but I do know one thing. I know 2 things. She said, I'm looking at it. We could look together. We're going to make this quick. She said, Holy Emperor sounds like a cool name. I want to use that horse. And I said, that's not why we're using. And she goes, so why'd you call me? I said, fine, we'll use Holy Emperor. And then I looked through and I said, Holy Emperor kind of makes sense. Coming from Santa Anita, going to ship across, does have 2 Belmont races. But Robert Falcone Jr. has brought runners over here. And we're going to find out how good they are. And I have a feeling they're going to be good. A lot of his runners have been running. A lot of these Belmont runners haven't been running, especially on the grass, because Aqueduct, I believe, they just opened their turf at the beginning of the month, maybe. So a lot of these runners haven't been seen yet. And then she said, Giroux. And I said, Giroux? And she said, don't you remember? And mind you, she's a Syracuse fan, went to Syracuse with me. She said, wasn't there a player on Houston, something Giroux? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, no, just look. And she's like, give me a minute. And she's like, yeah, this guy, Dejan Giroux. And I said, yeah, what about him? And she said, we got to use this. And she said, is this a boy or a girl race? I said, it's a boy. And she goes, all right, we're using Giroux. And I said, are you kidding me? You're a Syracuse fan and we're picking someone who beat us? She goes, look, I don't know anything about this, and I'll give this a shot. And then I looked at it again and I said, dropping in for a tag, Graham Motion, not half bad. So then I looked at the rest of the field on my own and I said, oh, God, that wasn't any help. But she did give me 2 horses that I'm really interested in. The other 2, like the one, Stand With Mo, I don't really like the runners coming from Tampa too often, and Public Information. It was not impressed. So I'm going to go short. I'm going to go with the 6 and the 10. That's what Christina helped me with here. So the 6 and 10. I went short in a race that I probably should go deep. Aaron, what did you think?
I think the surprise that everybody listening is that you have 4 female friends. I mean, that's the shock of the day for me. So
that's true. I can admit that some of them I haven't talked to in a while. And when I had to introduce this topic to all of them, except for Acacia and Christina, Christina was like, stop with this horse racing stuff. I don't know anything about it. But she was kind enough to help me out. You're right. The other 2, I kind of had to reintroduce and say hello first.
Yeah, I'm sure they were glad to hear from you. Hey, how's it going? It's Ricky. Let's talk about horse racing. That's a good way to get girls, Ricky. Maybe we should teach Ricky how to pick up girls after we're done with this instead of derby talk. I think that might be a good idea because if you're doing horse racing, I don't think it's going to work for a lot of them.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Listen. I think this race is a perfect opportunity for a trifecta because the 2 public information is a Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz Jr., and I'm against the 2. So I thought, well, let's try to take a shot here with 4 horses. Let's keep the 2 out of it, and let's try to create some value. I know full well this horse could do it, but I really think this is an overbet horse, and it gives us an opportunity. I used the 6 and the 10 in mine as well, just like you did. So I don't know that I need to go over those again. I also used the 1 and the 4. So I'll talk about the 1 real quick. Stand with Mo. Just dropping into for a tag for the first time. Obviously, that's the biggest class drop in racing. So I think number 1, Stand with Mo, definitely has got a big shot here. I also like that this horse can kind of be tactical, but doesn't absolutely have to be on the lead. I kind of think this horse just kind of sets the pocket trip on the rail. And maybe just kind of has the best trip of them all. I also use the number 4, Big Easy Empire at 8-1. I believe this horse really woke up, and the numbers say it. It's not just me seeing something nobody else saw. This horse really woke up when moving to the turf last time out. Now we get second time on the turf. We've got a horse that's got early speed. I just think this horse shouldn't be 8-1. If he kind of can run back to that last race, going to be pretty tough to beat here. So I think the 4 gets in there and spices things up, and at least gets second, third, and kind of makes this try pay a little more than it should. So for me, it's definitely the 1, the 4, the 6, and the 10 in a trifecta box.
Yeah, let's talk about a few different things here. The one, Jared's still on the other. So he talks about the future is my choice. I think he's talking about Futuro, Belmont. The problem for me, and I almost never do this, so I'm not going to do it here. When horses debut going 2 turns, and I don't know if this is true 2 turns because they start in this weird chute, but I'm going to call it 2 turns for the sake of the conversation. To have these horses go 8.5 furlongs, 2 turns on the turf on debut, to ask them to win is borderline impossible. Now, I'm not doubting Belmont, but you better have a special horse. And if you have a special horse, Aaron, you're not running them in for a tag. So like that point contradicts itself. So I wanted to use that horse. I just couldn't get to it. What about you? A first-time starter and Futuro on the turf for Belmont.
Kind of the same way. I did look at the horse. I don't hate the horse, but first-time starter for Belmont, that used to be a death sentence, but all of a sudden he's kind of winning with first-time starters. So you do pause now when you see that. I couldn't get there. With this one. It's one that's like they spend a decent amount of money for, pretty good breeding. Didn't start as a 2-year-old, didn't start as a 3-year-old, first time starter as a 4-year-old. There's a lot of signs that it's like, I don't know. I don't know if this horse has a whole lot of talent.
And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, why would he be dropping this horse in for a tag if this horse had any talent? Now, you could look at it the other way, which I don't look at it this way, but say you wanted to. Bill Mott could easily be saying, look, we'll give this horse a shot going 2 turns. Why would anyone claim this horse? You could look at it the other way, like, all right, we're going to drop him in for a tag. We know he's not going to get claimed, but you better be sure that he won't get claimed. Well, we'll assume he's not going to get claimed. Then if he does, great. If he doesn't, that's fine. The problem is he was purchased for $160,000 also. You're purchased for that much, you don't drop in for a tag. So I'm with Aaron here. I don't want to use that horse. Nick says, is the time from the 4 last race correct? I don't know. That does seem a little, Aaron, doesn't that seem a little slow?
Let's see. Yeah, mile and 16th and 150 and 8. Yeah, that can't be right.
Because the track record, I'm looking at it's onus back in 2016. That was 138 and 4, 138.86. There's no way that race. Is it possible down at the fairgrounds they add an extra 70 yards? But that doesn't even make sense. I still don't think it would be that slow. Yeah, maybe it's not correct. I don't know. I'm not a time guy. I don't really care. But.
Yeah, so Timeform does a good thing where they kind of hand time the race and adjust the fractions and to what actually happened versus what was presented to us. They have the final time as 144.65.
Now that seems like it makes a little bit more sense,
right? And that's it's what low, they base.
It makes sense, so.
Right, they base their numbers on that time, that final time of 144.65.
Yeah, so that seems more accurate. Jared says, "Talk to women on horses; they win. You look like a hero." Oh, so basically, what he's saying, I think what Jared is saying is, if you talk to women, make sure you get the horses right, then you'll look like a hero.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, how about Jared, to back up your point? If you talk to any man, you'll feel like a hero. It doesn't even have, you could be talking to anyone, you'll feel like a hero. Nick says the first race at Saratoga for the 7, came back with 76 speed, then was on the lead at Belmont and Pew. Total bomb with the 7. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Barkley Tag did a great job last year. He seemed like the feel-good story. I try to avoid all of his horses. Like I really do. Aaron, is there anything you want to say about the 7? I mean, Cracker Box Palace, good name, but no interest for me.
Let's see. I always try to think of something. Well, was only beaten 25 2 races back on the turf, and then was beaten 37 on the dirt. So obviously the turf is a little bit better surface. So we're getting back to the surface that we want. And it has early speed. So no, I'm not going to play this horse, and I will fall over, like wherever I'm standing, wherever I'm sitting, I will fall over and lay face down on the floor if this horse wins. But we're back on the turf. That's good.
I mean, I'm sorry. I can't say anything positive about that horse. I want to. I really do. Like
it's back-to-back days that somebody has either on the show, me, or somebody in the chat has picked the 7 in the last race. And today I'm on your side of like, I just can't see it,
Well, it sounds like you're on the right side. Because yesterday you weren't on the right side. I'm now like 4 for 4 with these. I'm willing to do something crazy bets. Again, it's going to come back to bite me at some point, but not today, at least. Let's move on to another segment that we're going to give this a shot. There was some information that came out yesterday. It was Saratoga Slim's beginnings of his article. Oh, real quick, shout out to the 4 women that helped me with that pick 4. Claudia, Acacia, Maggie, and Christina. Thank you guys for helping me out. I'll let you guys know how we do, and I'll break it down each race. Hopefully we can get that home. Saratoga Slim, which I didn't know at this point last year. Saratoga Slim is an award-winning writer for his Kentucky Derby articles. I think it's one of the coolest things that Racing Dudes does. I shouldn't say that. One of the coolest things that he does, because I have no part of it, so I'm not going to take any credit for it. He gets all this information from Brisnet. He does all this interesting stuff. And Aaron, yesterday, he put out this information I think you guys can see it. There we go. It's a little small, so I apologize. I'm on his Twitter. Basically what he does, and then we can go through it. Brisnet, and he says Brisnet running style, they come out with different groups of runners. Now, it's not sorted by talent here. It's sorted by where they should be. So you could see Caddo River, Midnight Bourbon, Medina Spirit in the early group, and it's E8. I guess it's 1 through 10. That's my guess. I don't know entirely the analytics, but then he has Rock Your World, Soup Sandwich in that group. It's E/P and then 3 through 7. So I guess 7 being the best. Those are early pressers. So those essentially are stalkers. Horses that are probably going to be between 3 and like 6, 3 and 7 in a normal race. Again, 20 horses, it's a little different. Then you have the next group, Mandaloon, Non Agenda, Dream Shake, Hidden Stash, Bourbonic, and those are the pressers. So those are probably like your mid packs. And then you have your closer, your one closer, according to Brisnet, is Obesos, Aaron's favorite horse of the field. And then you have the also eligibles, right? So basically he gives you a few different horses that potentially could be in the field if things break their way. So Aaron, is there anything on this chart? Again, you know this chart. You've seen it. Saratoga Slim put out his article before. It's fantastic. It's honestly, it's worth the half hour to an hour reading the article, and you'll get a true sense of the Derby. Is there anything on this list that he put together that shocked you, or anything that you're now curious about one of these horses to see where they set up?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting one to me is I think everybody kind of thought Caddo River would be up there number one, but it's interesting that behind Midnight Bourbon and Medina Spirit when it comes to the pace. I thought that really kind of stood out. I kind of think Rock Your World should be up a little further than that. I think he does have more early speed than those other two horses. Maybe not Caddo River, but the other ones. So that was interesting. That jumped out to me right away. Also, you kind of look for, okay, where's the favorite in this? Okay, he's kind of that stalking, like you said, 3 through 6 type in a normal race. Maybe it's more like 3 through 8, or 9 in the Kentucky Derby with so many horses. But Essential Quality, basically, he's right there where he's, in my opinion, that's the place to be. That's the group that usually wins this thing, the early pressers, the ones that can they don't have to have the lead. They can kind of just sit off the pace and then pounce. And as we've gone on in the last few years, those gate to wire horses do well as well. So you don't just throw out the early, like a lot of years you could just say, oh, those horses won't stick around. So it's interesting, right? I think the horses that are taking the most money are kind of in the right spots here. You don't see, maybe with the exception of Known Agenda, he may be a little too far back, based on this. But other than that, the horses that are going to take money are kind of in the spots that you want them to be in. Right,
exactly. And I was talking to Aaron before we came on. This isn't a list of like Saratoga Slim coming up with his own information. This is what Brisnet, I guess, do their analytics, or I don't know what they do. I'm not going to try to guess. But this is basically he put it together in a nice chart for everyone to see. This will be a part of his article. With that being said, you guys can check that out on his Twitter at Saratoga Slim. Aaron, let's talk about some future wagers here with the Kentucky Derby. So these are fixed prices. Mike Somich and Curtis Magic Calloward did a nice job of going through these with Bet US Official. I had never heard of them, but I took a look at it. We have two graphics here. This is the first one, and then I'll go to the second one. I'll start first. So basically, we won't talk about Essential Quality, right? Because he's 5-2. So yeah. I don't think that's a horse we really want. How about a horse that you're looking at these odds and you say, I'll take a shot. I'll let you go first, and then I'll go after that.
Well, just to be clear, if anybody wants me to book a bet for them on Reinvestment Risk or Jackie's Warrior, Team Merchant, Spielberg, you kind of got to wade through the BS here, right? So, but yeah, when you talk about horses that are actually in the gate, and a horse that I actually talked about, I think Dr. Tang maybe brought it up on Blinkers Off last night. Mandaloon, you can have him at 33-1 right now. That's probably, even though I'm not confident in Mandaloon, he's going to be like 12, 15 to 1 on the day of the race. And if you can get him at 33 to 1, he's probably worth a flyer. And the thing about it is, a lot of times the future wagers, they're happening in February and March. Well, now if you can find a value on a horse in a future wager, you've got a pretty darn good idea they're going to be in the race now, unless something really unforeseen happens. So Mandaloon 33 to 1. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, some of these horses aren't even going to be racing. So I think before you think about doing this, you might want to make sure they're in the field. For me, I think Highly Motivated at 9 to 1 is a better bet than Hot Rod Charlie at 9 to 1. If you saw, I don't think Highly Motivated is going to be 9 to 1. I think he'll be shorter. And when you have Jared does bring up a good point. It's about post position, but that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know how much these are going to change based on post position. I'm not entirely sure. But what I will say is you have to take a shot. I don't know if these are going to change, but you have to try to map out the odds in your mind. If you're going to have a long shot, again, like don't bet prime factor. He's not in the field. I don't know what that is. You have to try to go through the field and write down, almost play morning line odds maker, right? And go through it and say, what do I think this horse is going to be? That's how I would do this. And if I don't see Highly Motivated going off at 9 to 1, Aaron, I'm looking more in that 9 to 2 to 6 to 1 range. That's my guess. I could be wrong. I've never made morning line odds for a Kentucky Derby, but that's how I would approach this. 9 to 1 is, again, close to double digits. So that's where I would go. I don't see this horse going off at close to double digits. What do you think he's going to go off at if you had to take a guess right now?
Highly Motivated, I think you got it right. I don't think 9 to 2. I think that's getting into a little bit of a too short territory because the way I look at it, I think Essential Quality will be right there at that 5 to 2 mark. I think that's one of the only odds on this chart that's pretty accurate. Like I think 5 to 2 is about what you can expect on him, right? And then I think Rock Your World will be about 4 to 5 to 1, let's say. I think he definitely is going to be sitting there in a good spot. What is he here?
He's 575. Okay, so that's almost 6 to 1.
Yeah, so I think he's more 4 or 5 to 1, and then I think it's a battle between Known Agenda and Highly Motivated for that third choice. Like one's going to be like 6 to 1, and one's going to be like 8 to 1, and then the rest are all going to be double digits. Yeah,
that's a good point. We'll get to the other screen here. Someone says Mandaloon is a juicy price. I think Mandaloon is 33 to 1. Yeah, like I'll take that. I would definitely, if you like Mandaloon that much, which I don't, but I would definitely, if I liked him, 33 to 1 is smart. Let's get to the other one here. Concert Tour. Yeah, guys, please go bet your money on Concert Tour. You're guaranteed to lose. How about I'll book your bet. If anyone wants to bet Concert Tour, I'll book your bet because I'm guaranteed to win. What else are we looking at? Prevalence, another horse who won't be in there. I think Roman Centurion won't be running either. No. Who else? Candyman Rocket, another one won't be running. The Great One won't be running. Dream Shake, I actually think is going to run. Hosier, I think, is going to run Soup and Sandwich.
So think about this for a second. Hosier, if Dream Shake goes out, Hosier goes in. So let's say he's in the race. He's listed at 35 to 1 here, and Mandaloon is 33 to 1. I mean, that shows you like whoever has set these odds for this website, they don't know what they're doing past the top two. After that, you do get some value. If you like these horses, it's worth taking a look at because these odds are terrible.
No, I'm completely with you. This is like really, really bad. How about some of them like Soup and Sandwich? The Soup and Sandwich at 25, he's not going to be 25 to 1. He should be higher than that.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to take that now.
Yeah. Helium 18 to 1.
Helium's not going to be. I think Helium's better than Soup and Sandwich, but he's not going to be 18 to 1 either. So you might as well just wait.
They're both going to be high 20s, low 30s. You know,
like or the last two, Bourbonic at 14 to 1. I mean, Bourbonic should be 50 to 1. Superstock should be 25, 30 to 1.
Right.
Like, it goes both ways. You could look at it as like, yeah, Rock Your World should be hit a little bit lower, so that's a good price. But Superstock, why would you take 10 to 1 on Superstock now? I could almost guarantee everyone here that's listening, Superstock will be at least 25 to 1. Someone brings up a good point. Is this a max of $10? Potentially. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know how they're doing this. The Magic Mike group might know. But I don't. I have no idea. Maybe Aaron has an idea. I have no idea. If this
I haven't looked into it now.
Yeah, we just thought this would be a good segment because this is what these guys talked about. The Magic Mike group talked about. Aaron, I think that's going to do it for us today. I know next week when we come on, next Wednesday, you'll be heading to, is someone said risk, I guess if you're talking about risk taking, is risk taking going to the Preakness? I believe so, right, Aaron?
I think not. No, I think Crowded Trade is going.
Okay.
I think risk taking might be going like Peter Pan Belmont route. Last I heard.
Someone said Obesos. I have a feeling this wasn't updated because Obesos, to Nick's point, is not even listed. So
wow.
Maybe this is. I'm not saying Mike Somich posted a wrong picture. I'm saying it's very possible this hasn't been updated in a while.
Yeah.
I have no idea because Obesos will be in the field and Obesos is not listed. So, and we have a lot of horses. So that's my guess based on like concert tour. Like he hasn't been running now for weeks, it seems like. So this probably hasn't been updated. My guess is maybe in April. So I have no idea. But that's going to do it for us. Aaron will be heading to the Kentucky Derby on Wednesday, he said, or Thursday?
Yeah.
On Wednesday. Okay. So we will definitely do a show Wednesday. I think we're going to do a show Thursday. Friday's up in the air. I'll have to see if I can get a guest. I'm not coming on here myself. I can promise you that. But the Blinkers Off group, they'll be doing another show on Thursday. Check that out last night. They had Ryan Stillman on. It was great. They got into some deep Kentucky Derby stuff. And if you like Rock Your World, right around, I would say, the 30-minute mark or maybe 25-minute mark, Ryan Stillman gives you a legitimate 5 to 10-minute speech as to why Rock Your World is the horse to beat. If you don't like Rock Your World, you can stick your middle finger up at Ryan when he's saying it. No, he did a great job. Jared, it's funny. Jared was looking at Ryan the whole time, basically looking at him like, dude, I'm still not going to like Rock Your World. And I have to say, Ryan, I thought was pretty convincing because I texted him and I said, that's the best argument anyone could make. I'm highly convinced that Rock Your World can win, not just off his argument because I thought he could win anyway. But Aaron, you made a good point about essential quality. Like we've talked about Monomoy Girl in the past and some of these horses that Brad Cox has had. Maybe this is the best start that we're going to see from essential quality. Who knows? Again, I don't like to go off of those types of things because the horses are different, but at least you have to go off the training pattern is similar. And again, for essential quality to be Monomoy Girl, that's a lot to ask. But the track might be the same. Like not the track.
Again, as I pointed out, it's easy to look at what we know now about Monomoy Girl. But when she was going into the Oaks, first when Essential Quality was going in or is going into the Derby, Essential Quality is actually the more established, the better horse, even the faster horse by numbers. So sure, it's easy to say, well, that horse isn't Monomoy Girl. Well, Monomoy Girl wasn't like a complete standout in the Oaks either. Midnight Bisou may have been the favorite actually in that race. So you have to reverse back to what we knew about them at that moment. And I also put up like She Dares the Devil, biggest race was in the Kentucky Derby. He or in the Kentucky Oaks, so he knows how to campaign them to where they're going to pop on the big days. Was the whole point of it. And Monomoy Girl had a 10 point time form progression when she ran in the Oaks versus her race in the Ashland. Just for reference, Essential Quality ran a 1:17 time form in the Bluegrass. If he jumps up and runs 10 points better, like She Dares the Devil did in the Oaks, like Monomoy Girl did in the Oaks, it puts him at a 127. That's 4 points higher than what anybody else has done in the field. Is it enough to win? Yeah, I think a 127 time form will win it. So if he can repeat the history that he's done going into these big races, he's going to win this race.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And I shouldn't say they. These guys talked about it last night, just regarding what you probably need to win from a time form perspective. Aaron and I talked about it. If you run a 125, you're probably going to win. I mean, it's very simple. I just don't see. Jared says Dream Shake is going to the Preakness. You heard that on HRN, Aaron? Is that have you heard?
I don't listen to HRN. I have not heard that. I heard he was going to the Pat Day Mile last I heard. So
this is why I said yesterday, folks, not folks as in like people listening. We appreciate it. We need to have a firm cutoff. This is getting ridiculous. I know Aaron called himself a nerd and he likes to listen to it, and that's great and that's fine and that's cool if you are into it. Like, it goes along with the same for me, like the workouts. Like, I forgot who said it last night, Aaron. I don't know if it was you or Ryan Stillman. They're in the Kentucky Derby. They're all training well. If they weren't training well, they wouldn't be there. It's better when you hear a horse isn't training well. So it's like, we have all these horses points for the Derby. Now, granted, you have to qualify for the Derby in terms of points. If you don't have enough points, you have to kind of wait and see. But it's like, just have a decision. It's like enough already. And if you make the cutoff tomorrow, let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, because that would be a week. You just make it tomorrow and then horses drop out, then you have a field shorter than 20. Fine. Yeah. It is what it is. And I know like the historians are going to say, yeah, but it's a field of 20, like yada, yada, yada. You know what it also is, Aaron? They have a one gate now of 20 horses instead of the auxiliary gate. No one complained about that. Everyone's saying, oh, that's a great addition. Like, things can change. Baseball has a problem with this all the time. So you're allowed to improve. I think by having a cutoff, people like us that look at this for weeks in advance from the Lexington Stakes on for the last 2 weeks, just give us an idea. I'm not saying you have to make the cutoff April 1st. Just come on, like, enough with this. We have one horse pointing to like 9 different races. It's like stupid.
So, breaking news. This was tweeted out by Brittany Urton, the daughter of Peter Urton, who trains Dream Shake. Dream Shake is going to the Pat Day Mile. That is on Kentucky Derby Day. It's a 1 mile race for 3-year-olds. Flavian Pratt to ride. So, Dream Shake to the Pat Day Mile. Flavian Pratt to ride. Whether that means the Preakness is next or not, I have no idea, but that is now official. So Dream Shake is out and Hosier now is in the field. So anyway, one more time, Brittany Urton tweets out Dream Shake to the Pat Day Mile, Flavian Pratt to ride.
Well, it's always good that we're breaking. We shouldn't say we're breaking news because Brittany broke it, but we're able to share it with you guys. Jared says, I hope Rock Your World is the winner. I got Future to 1 and 14 to 1. That's a nice price on Rock Your World. If you have 14 to 1, I would say Rock Your World will probably be no worse than the third choice. My guess is second. That's my guess. I would guess Highly Motivated is your third. That's just me because Highly Motivated already lost. And Rock Your World, as Ryan Stillman pointed out, is your like untapped potential horse. He even brought up the point, which is, I don't agree with it, but it's possible. Like he said, he had 2 turf races and then ran well in the dirt. What if he likes the dirt even more than the turf? Like, that's a scary thought. We don't know. We'll find out in the Derby. But 14 to 1 is a good price there. Aaron, any final thoughts before we wrap up on Friday afternoon?
Listen, if you want to give me that 14 to 1 on Rock Your World, I'd take that. That's a really good price because that horse is going to be 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, so yeah, I mean, hopefully for you, for your sake, Jared, and really probably for my tickets as well. Hopefully he can repeat that San Diego Derby effort because if he does, he's got a great shot to win. Another thing for reference, he has the highest time form number coming in to the race. It's 123, and he earned it in the San Diego Derby. So he's the one that got a catch. He's 6 points better than anybody else. So, if you don't think anybody's going to improve and you think everybody's just going to run the same race again in the Derby, he's the winner.
I do. I have to get this off my chest because I agree with Aaron on everything he says, like 98% of the time, except last night there was 2% that I didn't agree with. Now, I'm not saying you can't agree with people, or disagree, I should say, because I do happen to agree with him a lot. And Aaron brought up a Gonzaga Baylor point, and I don't know if he noticed, but I put my head in my hands, or I nodded no, and he said it's kind of the consensus where Gonzaga was the horse that, or the team now, essential like the dream. I guess Rocket World was that horse now, where it's like he's going to get tested. He's truly going to get tested, right? And I agree with Aaron normally because Gonzaga doesn't play anyone, but Aaron knows this better than a lot of people. He's a big college basketball fan. They played Kansas, Auburn, and West Virginia early on. So granted, those teams didn't come back well. That's fair. Mind you, they had also scheduled Baylor. So it was potentially the second time we were going to see them. They also faced Iowa. They also faced Virginia, BYU a few times. And yeah, they did get tested against USC a little bit, not much against Creighton or Oklahoma. And then they played UCLA. So that was just my one pushback. I completely agree with what he's saying every other year, except for this year, because Gonzaga actually went out and tested themselves. And they would have played Baylor earlier in the year had that game not been a COVID protocol. So that was just the one thing I had to get off my chest. But everything else that you guys said last night was 1,000% on.
Sometimes you got to realize, like, you are like probably the only one that is in the realm or was even listening to the new Gonzaga schedule. So you have to play to your audience, and there's said Gonzaga, and everybody goes, yeah. You know, that's the thing. Like, nobody cares who Gonzaga, but that's just their stereotype. You know,
no, you're right. That's me being hardo. That's me being hardo. Yeah,
it's like, you know, the stereotype. OU has a bad defense. Well, they actually don't now. Like, it actually
they actually the team. Pretty good defense. They have a decent defense.
Yeah, but people still think they're terrible because that's until they win a national title and their defense plays good in that game where everybody watches. Everybody's just assuming OU has a bad defense. So you have to use your I don't know what the word is. You have to use the sense of knowing not everybody knows what you know, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I firmly believe this when it comes to college sports. And I'm not trying to be cocky. I firmly believe I could have a conversation with anyone at any realm about it. Now, even horse racing, I don't feel that way necessarily. I don't know nearly as much as you guys sometimes. But when it comes to college football and basketball, I think I do. And when he said that, it made me cringe because I knew what the consensus of that thought was. Like, I knew that he was playing to the field of, right, oh, Gonzaga, right, they always struggle. And it's ironic now that Gonzaga has lost in 2 national championship games. So even if people want to criticize Gonzaga for not getting it done, they are probably the most consistent program over the last decade. Maybe Villanova. I would say Villanova and Gonzaga. So it's that's just where I'm at. But that's going to do it for us today. Aaron,
I've got one more thing. More thing for you. With this news that now Hozier is in. If I would have told you before the Arkansas Derby that 4 of those 6 runners would be in the Kentucky Derby and one of them is not concert tour, would you have looked at me like I had 12 heads?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm trying to process what you were saying about Hozier.
Okay, with Hozier being in, 4 of the 6 runners in the Arkansas Derby are now in the Kentucky Derby field. If I would have told you before the Arkansas Derby was run, hey,
no, you know
4
what?
of these 6 horses are going to be in, and Concert Tour is not one of them.
Well, that's why I say no, because if you liked Concert Tour that much, that means he's taking the top points from everyone else. The fact that, that's the thing about this, right? Where it's it goes hand in hand. If you didn't like Concert Tour, which I don't know how you didn't going into that race, but say you didn't for the sake of the conversation, then that's a yes to your question. But if you like Concert Tour, that means Concert Tour is getting the most points and there's less points available. So,
okay.
I don't Superstock could have gotten in. I don't know who finished third. Say Concert Tour finishes first and then everyone else drops a spot. If you're finishing second or third, now you're third or fourth, you're not going to have enough points to get in. But because Concert Tour was so bad and now not running, there are more points available. So I wouldn't have believed that going into it. Does that thought make sense? Does that make sense?
No, because if I would have told you, hey, highly motivated or not, highly motivated, Caddo River and Hosier and Get Her Number and Super Stock are all going to be in the Derby after this. There's no way any logical person would have said, yeah.
No, I'm agreeing with you. We're saying the same thing. I'm saying.
No, I thought you said, oh no, if you would have told me concert tours out, then yeah, sure, I would have said 4 people. Well, no, 4 of these horses are in.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If you told me concert tour was going to run so shitty, then I would have said yes. But I said no logical person would think that because I don't know anyone who said I'm not going to use concert tour in my top 3. I don't know one person who said that. And if you did, congratulations, because that would be the biggest risk that anyone would have taken on this trail. So especially when we didn't think that was a good Derby. So good luck to Hosier and the Connections. You'll probably finish 17th. I mean,
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm very, very biased in this thought. If you're not good enough, stop running your horse. And I know you guys talked about it last night. Like, if you own the horse, you want to run your horse in the biggest race in this country, possibly in the world. Maybe not the world, because you have Dubai, Saudi breeders. Fine. Definitely in this country. The most prestigious, even though it's not the most money, the most prestigious. I'm with you guys. But you're not winning. You're not. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're wasting, like, Aaron, you know this. This is my biggest pet peeve, and then I'll leave it here. These horses run like 5-6 times, and then they go to breeding immediately. And it's my biggest pet peeve in horse racing. One of the biggest. Why are you wasting one of your 5 or 6 bullets? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, right? We only have 4. And you can say, well, if he runs well in the Breeders' Cup, the Kentucky Derby, then his breeding looks better. Yeah, what if you run 19th or 15th? Now your breeding looks worse. Yeah. So what are you, like, you're not making money from there. Like, you're losing money by running him because you got to pay for all this. You got to pay for X, Y, Z. And I don't know what they pay out. What is it? Probably the top 6?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know after you get past the top 5, it's irrelevant, basically.
Right. Exactly. So if you're Hosier and you like, if you're Helium, I think you could legitimately hit the top 6. I don't love your chances, but I think you could do it. If you're Hosier and you think you're hitting the top 6, you're on some sort of illegal medication. So, I mean, plus, Aaron, at least if you're Hosier, at least if you're Helium, you are undefeated. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a Hosier, you've been defeated on multiple occasions. So
yeah,
that's where I stand. Any final thoughts before we end this?
Nope, that's it. That's all I've got.
Well, without further ado, I shot Dr. Miranda a text saying that Aaron gave you a shout out. She thought she thought you were kidding, and I said no, he was being serious. That you have your Thurby and Oaks and whatever the heck dresses he got picked out. And she said, I guess I'll have to watch. I said, well, that's good to know that you don't watch on a consistent basis anyway.
She texted me and she said, you're the worst. I said, well, what's the matter with you? You know? So
yeah, I don't know why she said that. That's not nice. Anyway, no, nice. Without further ado, that's going to do it for us today. A little shorter than normal, but we didn't have a lot to go over. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Aaron will have an updated top 20 for the Kentucky Derby, and Aaron would probably be spending a lot less hours on this if we had a deadline, like I think. But since no one cares what I think, Aaron will make his 9th edition or 40th edition. Who knows at this point? We'll go over that. That will be the final edition, I believe, because the draw's on Tuesday. So at that point, we'll at least know who's in the field. If someone scratches out, then we'll have less horses. But you can't be replaced at that point, I believe. Right. So we'll have those 20 locked in, and we can go over it. There'll be morning line odds out, so Aaron and I will discuss that as well. And then we'll do I don't know who's running next Wednesday. I think Churchill Downs is for sure, so we could always go to Churchill. Maybe we'll do Belmont. We'll see. Without further ado, though, we will see you guys next week. Take a listen, I should say, to the Magic Mike group. They did a golden hour pick for, I think, Golden Gate Fields. They have some good races this Saturday, and then Blinkers Off did a whole Kentucky Derby conversation, about an hour and 20 minutes or so, maybe an hour 30 last night. So take a look at that. Let us know what you guys think, and good luck today. If you're playing Belmont, it should be a nice day, still a little windy, but should be a nice day. Some good weather as well. Everyone take care, and we will see you guys next week.